Welcome, everyone, to what I believe is the first online service of the Unitarian Society of New Haven. May we know once again, we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. May we be inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. Our worship associate, Jim Peters, will light the chalice. We are a people of memory, as inheritors of a great legacy of witnesses. We glean wisdom from the first spirits, are inspired by those who work to guide us, and are guided by those who are trusted in the transforming power of a beloved community as we kindle this flame together.
Good morning. I'm Jim Peters, a member of the worship committee serving as worship associate this morning. Wherever you are this morning, please feel welcomed into this beloved community. We are united by our bonds of compassion, caring, concern, and commitment. These connections are strong. They are enduring. They are grounding. They can sustain us as we individually and collectively face each day. We are in a time where beloved community must be more than just words. It must be embodied in our collective will, our intertwined spirits, our shared commitment to our mission in the world. Be well, friends. Feel the love that knows no single space or moment in time. This morning, I'd like especially to thank people who are here this morning helping us with this service. Rob Cam and Mary Donahue are providing invaluable technical support. And reeling away, the Celtic and Appalachian folk musicians are with us to support us this morning as well. I'd like to ask everyone to be especially mindful of checking their email inboxes to get information regarding future services and activities here at the Unitarian Society of New Haven. We will keep you informed. So our service will continue with hymn 89, Come My Way, My Truth, My Life, and the words will be available to you. Our story for all ages this morning comes to us from the Gospel of Frog and Toad, written by Arnold Lobel
a series of wonderful stories about two best friends. And this is called Alone. And now is a time when we often feel the balance of being alone and being together with just a few people. So I thought it was could speak to our condition. Toad went one morning and knocked on the door of his friend Frog's house. No one answered. And then he noticed that there was a note on the door, and it said, he read, "Dear Toad, I am not at home. I have gone out. I want to be alone. Your friend Frog." And Toad thought, oh dear, Frog wants to be alone. There must be something wrong. I am Frog's best friend. If he doesn't want to see me, there must be something. I have to go and cheer him up. And so Toad rushed home as much as Toad could rush, and he made a picnic basket of peanut butter and jelly and chocolate chip sandwiches and a pitcher of lemonade and some cookies. And he went out with this basket to find his friend Frog to cheer him up. And he went through the meadow and Frog was not there. And he went into the forest and Frog was not there. And he went to a place of rocks that they used to climb together, and Frog was not there. And finally, it was late afternoon when Toad went down to the lake. And then way out, kind of in the middle of the lake, he saw his friend Frog sitting on a little rock in the middle of the lake, looking the other way. And so he called out, Frog, it's me, your best friend Toad, and I have come to cheer you up. But he was so far out there that Frog did not hear what Toad was shouting to him. And so he looked around and a turtle was going by. And he called to the turtle and said, Turtle, can you take me out to my best friend Frog out there on the rock? And the turtle said, well, yes, I guess I could. And Toad said, but we must hurry, Turtle. We must go fast because Frog says he wants to be alone. And so Toad got on the turtle's back, but as they were going out there, the turtle said, Toad, if Frog wants to be alone, why are you going out to be with him? And Toad thought to himself, oh dear, what if Frog does not want to be my best friend anymore? What if I am really going to be just a bother to him? And they were getting close now, and Toad waved his arms to his friend and said, Frog, it's me, Toad, and I promise that if you be my best friend again, I will not do any of the silly things that I do all the time. And at that moment, he fell off the back of the turtle into the water, and Frog came down and helped him pull him up on the rock and said, oh, it's good to see you, Toad. And Toad said, I brought this picnic basket, and they looked in, and there was no more lemonade, and the sandwiches and the cookies were soggy. And Toad said, I am sorry, Frog. I have done a silly thing again. And Frog said, Toad, I am so glad to see you. You are my best friend. And I woke up this morning and I thought, what a beautiful day. And how lucky I am to have Toad for my best friend. I should go out and I should think about these things by myself for a while. But now that you are here, Toad, I'm very glad to have you, and we can be alone together for a while on this rock. Oh, said Toad. I guess that is a very good thing. So Frog and Toad sat on the rock by the lake and ate soggy sandwiches without any lemonade and had a good time being alone together. That is the story for this morning. We come now to the portion in our service where we remember the joys and sorrows in community. And we invite you as a congregation to email in joys and sorrows that you have so that we can share them with other people. And here I come to an end of my knowledge about what's happening. I believe there's over 100 people who are tuned in. Can they talk to each other?
Yes.
Okay.
Through the chat.
Through
there's
the
a chat button they can hit and bring up another window.
Okay, and if you want to do that, especially during the time of meditation, and let other people know what's going on with you, we invite you to do that. We are also attempting to respond to the needs of our community in various ways. And there'll be another announcement about that. I do have some sad news to share with you that Dorothy Farkas died this week. She was 97 years of age. She had an infection not related to the COVID-19 virus. She died of other causes. She had a long life, and I was privileged to get to visit with her a few times when she shared with me some memories of her childhood growing up in and around New York City. And she will be remembered fondly by a group within the congregation. She and her husband were members of several Unitarian Universalist congregations during their lifetime. We now enter into a meditation in three parts. First, some words which Jim Peters is going to read, a meditation by Lynn Unger, who is a friend and colleague of mine, the Director of Religious Education for the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Larger Fellowship, which is especially for Unitarian Universalists who live in parts of the world where there are not congregations. And so it used to be simply a church by mail, if you will. Now it has also moved into the more technical age and has online services. And it also has a prison ministry, which has grown stronger during the last 10 years.
This is a poem called Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel. Cease from buying and selling. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live.
There's a bright side somewhere. Ain't gonna rest until I find it. There's a bright side somewhere. There's more joy somewhere. There's more joy somewhere. Ain't gonna rest till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. Ain't gonna rest till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. Ain't gonna rest until I find it. There is more love somewhere. Bright side somewhere. There's a bright side somewhere. Ain't gonna rest until I find it. There's a bright side somewhere.
Our congregation is in the midst of its annual stewardship campaign. And we have some testimony from one of our members, Kenny Foscue, who's not here this morning. I spoke to him this morning, and he's actually out hiking the trail on Sleeping Giant, but being careful not to get too close to anybody else who's on the trail. But reading that his testimony is once again our worship associate, Jim Peters.
My name is Kenny Foscue, and I have been a member of USNH for over 19 years. Over the years, I have served as a member of the Fundraising Committee, the Adult Education Committee, the Peace Group, and other committees. I have taught in the Children's Religious Education Program for several years. I serve now as co-chair of our USNH Connect core team. I spent some time recently reflecting on what USNH has meant to me and how this place and its people sustain me. I came up with many ideas, but I'll keep it short. Mostly, I think of this place as a life-sustaining well, a place that I can come and gain sustenance to renew my energy. As I grow older and as our country seems to become a harsher place, this becomes more and more important. Also, USNH and Unitarianism is a place for me to connect to the spiritual and ethical origins of my commitment to economic and social justice. Kathleen, Megan, and others' sermons over the years have been a great source to help me make that connection. As a longtime activist, I realized how important it is to know about, one, how I got this way, and two, how do I keep being this way? USNH is a place where people live and practice their beliefs, mostly, a place where you and I can work together to have a real impact on local, state, national, and world conditions. This has felt very real over the years, but the feeling is very much stronger with our involvement with Connect, congregations organized for a new Connecticut. With our congregation's commitment and financial support, we are making an even greater impact on our community, state, and country. I'm excited about our efforts to make social justice a more prominent centerpiece of our congregation and to provide a real moral beacon. I don't know how many people in our congregation know this, but USNH has a great reputation for leadership, especially regarding social justice work. You should know that the Connect organization made it a priority to have USNH join. Why? Because we show up. Whether it be a demonstration, public meetings, supporting service programs, a picket line, participation in Connect's assemblies and other events, we are there. That means USNH is needed in this world. USNH for me is also a place of refuge. It is the one place I can come to escape from the constant roar of the commercial advertising world telling us that everything is a commodity, that freedom comes from buying the right products, and that violence is the way to resolve conflict. Here we have a community-oriented, life-affirming place, and I will never forget how important it was to me to have this sanctuary to grieve and to share our sorrow after 9/11 in 2001. It is the time of the year when the congregation needs to step up to make sure we have the resources so that USNH can continue its valuable work, both for members of our congregation and for the world. I mentioned earlier that USNH has a reputation for showing up. It is now time for all the membership to show up and support our stewardship campaign. Thank you.
I wanted to let you know, I'm going to raise this, that even though we are not gathered together, there are still ways that you can make financial contributions, which are much needed to our congregation. You can do it simply by clicking a few buttons on the web page, the congregation's web page. You can also mail in donations, and please do keep mailing in your pledges for the year 2020 and 2021, and that you can also submit those through our web page by making a few clicks there. While we're thinking about money, also let me tell a brief story about a woman who, as many of you are doing, went through their freezers to see what food was there. And in the back found a turkey that was over 20 years old. So she called into her local radio's culinary program to ask if it would be okay to use it, and was told, well, there may have been power outages during the last 20 years that would make it inedible. But even if not, it might be that you could eat it, but all of the juices would have been gone from it. And she said, yeah, that's what I figured. I think I'll just give it to my church. So I wanted to say that here at the Unitarian Society of Northampton, we're really looking for your juicy donations, not your juiceless ones. So, and thank you for paying attention to that. So while you think about that, we're going to hear a wonderful music group this morning. theme for this month is wisdom. This morning, I'm going to talk about the wisdom of Lent. Those who keep track of such things know that we are already a ways into Lent, but it's not too late to start a Lenten practice, if that's your wish. Mardi Gras, or Fat Tuesday, was February 25th. Lots of Unitarian Universalists love the idea of Mardi Gras, enjoying pancakes and the richest fried foods, the carnival spirit that life brings to us in this time. Many of us are not so sure about Ash Wednesday or Lean Wednesday, especially if there's still leftovers from Fat Tuesday in the fridge. God wouldn't want us to waste those, would she? So people look for ways to expand Mardi Gras, but most of us don't look for ways to expand Lent. It's a time of contradictions. For much of the last couple of thousand years of Christendom, people have thought of Lent as a time to give up something. However, the word comes from lengthen, the lengthening of days that happens now. And so some people have come up with the idea that rather than giving something up, we might take on something new. In my mind, Mardi Gras is about reveling in excess. Lent is about appreciating, savoring the good things in life that are offered to us every day. In one of her poems, Susan Deborah King asks, "Do I want more? Of course I want more. I always want more of everything. Money, hugs, lovemaking, art, butter, woods, flowers, the sea, M&Ms, chips, tops, bottoms, trips. Enough. That is what I've always needed to learn." Lent is a time when we might consider for ourselves, what does enough mean to us? Some of us do give up things for Lent. I have one friend who gave up complaining for Lent. He said he found it very difficult. I know others who have gone on a media or technology fast. This is probably not the year to do that, as we will be relying on technology to keep in touch and to keep our communities going and find different ways that we can support each other. Last year, I refrained from buying anything in a plastic container. Just to be clear, I did not give up using plastic containers entirely, or even using products in plastic containers. I confess that I even stocked up on peanut butter before Ash Wednesday. But I did not buy anything in plastic containers during those 40 days. And in the course of it, I changed some habits for good. This year, I'm giving up buying myself any sugary treats for 40 days. We'll see how that goes. Again, I'm not saying I'm not going to eat any sugary treats, but I'm not going to buy any. Items in my freezer are fair game. And I think somewhere in my house there is a bag of candy left over from Halloween that may find the light of day before Easter. For over 100 years now, the thing that Unitarians and Universalists have done as a Lenten practice is to read more. From 1938 to 55, the Unitarians and the Universalists, then separate denominations, each published an annual Lenten meditation manual. From 1956 to 60, the two denominations jointly published one manual under the imprint of the Council of Liberal Churches. They talked for 100 years about merging before they actually merged. And this is one of the many projects that they did together before the merger. These Lenten meditation manuals contained 40 prayers or reflections, one for each day between Ash Wednesday and Easter. The practice of publishing meditation manuals continues in the Unitarian Universalist Association, but now they are not done in the form of Lenten manuals, with the exception of a period from the mid-1970s to the late 1980s, when there was a resurgence of the Unitarian Universalist Lenten manuals. During this Lenten season, I encourage you to think about what kind of person you want to be, to think about your health, well-being, and the wholeness of not only yourself, but for others as well. And it's also a time for everyone to reflect on their own mortality. The fact that at some point, our time on this earth will come to an end. And how does that influence the way we spend our time now? Let me also here lift up one of the meditations that was published in our one of our Lenten meditation manuals. It comes from the writings of Nancy Schaefer, who served as the Associate Minister for Religious Education in Ann Arbor from 2008 to 2012. It's kind of a grace before meal and speaks to that deep appreciation that I think might be a part of what we want to get closer to during Lent. She writes, "When I come to my meal, I begin to bless this food and close my eyes. I lose myself first just in green. How do leaves grow themselves this green? And how do they grow at all to be so large? And how do they make themselves from soil, which in itself is only brown? And sunlight helps, and water. But how is the end of this green? How can I bless this food? It blesses me. Thank you, I say, for this bowl, which is also a field, this green, which is meal before I eat. Thank you, I say, that this green becomes me. Thank you for the mysteries of this life." Being a Unitarian Universalist means that all spiritual practices are available and all are optional. This is wonderful in that it gives me the freedom of self-direction. It's a little less than entirely wonderful in that my community of Lenten observers will be a small subset of the Unitarian Universalist community. I will miss the power of all of us doing something together, but that's okay. That's how we roll. All calendars are social constructs. On any given day, it can be something like Mardi Gras for someone, or something like Good Friday for someone else. So part of the reason I am observing Lent is because I believe human social constructs have a reality all their own. The chef and food writer Edward Lee, a man who was born in Korea and raised in Brooklyn, New York, found himself visiting Dearborn, Michigan a few years ago during the month of Ramadan, a month of fasting in the Islamic calendar. Someone told him that you did not need to be Muslim to observe the Ramadan fast. It was a gift for all people to take up or not, as they chose. So for the 3 days he was in Dearborn, Lee observed the fast from sunup until sundown. He liked the effect the fast was having on his body and his brain. It helped him to see the world differently. He intended to continue the Ramadan observance after he returned home, but without the Islamic community around him, it no longer made sense. He had a meal with his family, and then that was that. Maddie Pryor is an English folk singer with a very distinctive voice. I had always imagined her to be the soul of the group Still I Span, so I was surprised to learn from reading in an interview with her that she had left and rejoined the group at different intervals. She described it as being like a city bus that sometimes was going where she wanted to go and other times not so much. For me, this is very much akin to spiritual practices for Unitarian Universalists. For many of us, reading is primary, and there's a proposal that we should find a way to share books from our libraries with each other during this time when the public libraries are closed. But that's only one of many ways to have a spiritual practice. We can take up any number of different practices. This might be the time to get back to that musical instrument that has lain unattended in the corner of your home for a while. Or maybe you always wanted to learn the ancient Greek language. That might be a practice to take up, at least to memorize the alphabet, which could help you with crosswords. In any case, these practices are there for us to take up or not as we choose. We can do that and still remain well within the realms of the Unitarian Universalist faith. On your life journey during this Lenten season, I invite you to find a practice of setting aside what distracts you so that you can tend deeply to the things that matter most to your spirit. May it be so. We are now going to sing When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. And help me here. Are people going to see the words?
Yes.
You are going to see the words, and you'll even hear some of us sing.
When we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, and our heart is When we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, and our heart is in a holy place. And our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
For the extinguishing of our chalice, I will read a line and then invite you to repeat it. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
The warmth of community or the fire of commitment.
The warmth of community or the fire of commitment.
These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Like the sun needing a place to shine, and the world needing to be so warmed, we need one another. Like the ocean needing a shoreline, and the coast needing to be touched by the rhythm of the water, we need one another. We gather electronically this week for this reason, to give and receive what we have and what we need. We gather each week for this reason, to say to each other that like all that is living, we need one another. We give thanks for the blessing of this community of faith. We give thanks that once again, we have come together. Our service here is ended, but our service to the wider community is a continuing responsibility and joy. Go and make peace. Blessed be. Amen.
Amen.